Hello and welcome to the Eurogamer.net podcast, episode 103. I am Tom Bramwell. Tom Champion, our usual host, is off this week. He's on holiday, unauthorised in my view, but he's taken it nonetheless. He's in New York. Sorry, this isn't interesting. I'm joined by, on my right...
more HR issues, basically. I quite enjoy this. Did he go for the correct channels for his holiday request? This is the stuff I want to hear about.
There's no such thing as HR at Eurogamer.
This is true.
Well, because I am the HR department, so it's all very freestyle.
That's a terrifying thought.
Anyway,
Yep.
On my right is Marty Robinson.
Hello.
Hello.
That actually means something, doesn't it?
I know, because we're filming it and people will be making judgments about us. They'll be noting...
we all drink Coke products.
Yeah, we are actually all on Coke products today.
It's like American Idol, where they all have their Coke glasses and they have to blur them out in England.
Right,
Otherwise it's product placement.
I see.
Do you know, if you ever get to interview Dan Aykroyd, he always has to have a crystal skull, which is his own brand of vodka, in shot.
Amazing.
And
Like an actual crystal skull he drinks from, or...
No, it's like he sells, because that's what he does these days. He doesn't actually just sells crystal skulls full of vodka.
Wow.
Oh, well, that other voice you heard, or saw, or whatever, was Tom Phillips.
Hello there.
Hello. So cool. We've dropped in Coke, New York, Tom Champion. We talked about HR. It's already quite a packed podcast, but I thought it would be a good opportunity also to talk about some games.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because
controversially,
but there are some good games to talk about for once. As I was saying before we came on, before we came on air on this pre-recorded clusterfuck. None of this downloadable bollocks, none of this smartphone rubbish. Forget the indies. It's all about big blockbuster games.
Proper games in boxes.
Made by teams of hundreds of underpaid
games you can go down the shop and go and buy, or perhaps not. Yes.
That's much too soon for that, I'm afraid.
Sorry.
Wow.
So the three games, we've got three games today that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a bit about Assassin's Creed 3. We're going to talk about Halo 4. And we're going to talk about SSX, or SSX 4, if you like. I suppose it is SSX. Is it SSX 4? Or?
I can't remember the numbering. Was it
So
tricky? And then
1, 2, 3,
tricky. And then didn't they do On Tour as well? What was that?
Oh, I don't know.
Was that a proper game, or was it for a rubbish handheld? Or
no, that was a proper game.
On Tour was a proper one.
Oh, there was Blur for the Wii Cube thing.
So this is obviously why they've stopped numbering the games, because
Yes.
no one knows.
Yes, they've just started again, which I respect.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that a bit later. But in the meantime, I want to talk about Assassin's Creed 3.
Oh, I'm excited about that game.
Yeah. It was officially unveiled yesterday. I did enjoy reading the leaked details while every website that hosted them was wrapped around by banners with a countdown. That was good.
Yeah, that was an odd situation.
That was the internet in microcosm right there. So what we know is it's set in... it's during the American Revolution.
Yep.
So Mohawk Valley, 1777. It's relatively modern day for Assassin's Creed, which usually takes place in the sort of the Middle Ages or whatever.
1500s, yeah.
You play as a man called Connor. Obviously, that's a bit of an issue because it's a rubbish name.
Can you pronounce his actual name?
No, I didn't even write it down. I tried. I think you even typoed it. There's like a colon in the one that you put on there.
I copied and pasted that from Ubisoft's press release.
Right, wow.
Have you ever tried to say it out loud?
It's something like Reiki, Takey, Ricky
Be
Tiki.
careful. Be very careful.
I started saying Ricky Tiki Tello.
Okay.
You know, the EA man. I don't know.
That's not actually
That's why he's
his
called,
name either.
Yeah.
Never mind. Anyway, his father was an English colonist. This is Connor, not John Riccitello. And his mother was a Mohawk Native American. So, I think this is great for a number of reasons. It's a French publisher making a game set in the American Revolution where you play as someone of mixed English and Native American descent. This could only end in hilarity. I mean, brilliant. Already the reaction on the comments threads from people who.
There's a lot of people very upset that you're going to be killing British guys.
Why would you be
Aren't they upset that you're
British
going to be
guys?
killing Americans as well?
Well, a lot of Eurogamer readers are quite upset that you're going to be killing lots of British guys, but I think that's not entirely what's going to happen. Obviously, it seems in the trailer that you're going to be joining Washington's forces, but they've said that it's not going to be black and white. Like, the Americans aren't going to be the sole bad guys and the English people aren't going to be the sole good guys. The guy is of half British descent, and he grew up and as a Native American was kind of screwed over by everybody. So I think it's going to be a lot more grey. And also, if you go into the Assassin's Creed lore, there's lots of stuff about Washington and the Founding Fathers and how actually they weren't.
Have you investigated? Are there clues about this in the Assassin's Creed Encyclopedia?
It's not in the encyclopedia, which is an amazing book. You got with Revelations Collector's Edition.
Yeah, the sort of oblong.
Yeah.
Trapezium one.
Yeah.
The strangely shaped box.
One of the many special editions.
Yes.
Anyway,
A very special one.
in Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood, some of the other puzzles you can find that Subject 16, the previous guy in the Animus, left you to solve, involved like piecing together bits of Assassin versus Templar history.
Yeah.
One of which included Washington.
Oh yes, right. I do remember that vaguely. Didn't he have a piece of Eden?
He did. He was controlling people. It's got passed down through presidents. Presumably Obama still has one.
Brilliant. Well, that all sounds jolly good. But as I understood, the real enemies were animals, and that you will be killing animals. I know it's wolves. You can be shooting those.
Bears. Apparently,
Don't see anyone kicking off about that, do you?
If you hack them to pieces, you get less money than if you kill them outright, because obviously you mess up their fur.
Brilliant. The RSPCA will love that.
Yeah,
that's a good message to send.
I'm now imagining the PETA flash-based minigame that will
Was there
come out of that.
Was there any outcry about that after Red Dead Redemption? Because obviously you can skin your horse.
I think it's appropriate to the time, isn't it? That's what cowboys would be doing, and this is
people did
what
for lols.
Native Americans would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is it was quite obviously. I mean, this is a slightly silly argument, given that the people who make the opposite argument are mental. But there were quite a lot of silliness and weird context in that game, such as hog tying women and putting them on train tracks. So you could arguably excuse some of the other extremes on the basis that it was just fiction.
Indeed.
Not that anyone ever does. You can climb trees as well, I understand.
Yeah, this is pretty fun. So a lot of the game. Yeah.
Go on.
A lot of the game is taking place outdoors. So, and by outdoors I mean not in a city, in the wilds of the frontier. So you're obviously going to be needing more stuff to clamber around upon. Yeah,
because I was going to say, I mean, to me that just sounds. I mean, I like the idea that obviously it lends itself quite well, but generally speaking, the Assassin's series, the outsidey bits, the in between city bits have been, should we say, crap.
Yeah, and they've definitely cut them down, so it's almost odd that they're going back to it. One had loads of them, and they were just boring, empty expanses. But this time around, they're going to be putting missions in them, like real missions, and they're going to be populated both by wildlife and people and stuff to do.
I guess we'll have to wait to see it and see what they've done with it. I guess obviously Red Dead Redemption does spring to mind, but it just doesn't... it's not as much fun to climb a tree as it is to climb a building.
Exactly. And why should we wait? Let's rate it now. Let's review it right here.
Let's just actually review trees and buildings together, and I think that's from that
trees versus buildings.
Extract the definitive verdict on Assassin's Creed 3.
So I mean, pretty much everyone in the world, I think, perhaps except for Ubisoft management, thought that Revelations was like one too many, right? I mean, for Assassin's Creed 2,
I think so.
The Brotherhood was a great game, unexpectedly so. We all thought it was just a way of filling the gap, but Revelations was sort of wasn't really necessary, and the things it added didn't really have a positive effect. The clanky hook thing and the stupid tower defense rubbish.
I like the hook thing, but the tower defense rubbish and all the first person puzzle sections.
Oh yeah,
that felt to me like the Ubisoft studios who were making it had been, shoehorned into making yet another Assassin's Creed game, and that was a way for them to do some kind of original thing.
I remember hearing an interesting thing. This may have been from a GDC a couple of years ago. It was a post-mortem on Assassin's Creed 2, possibly, and they were talking about how they make them, because obviously they have like 900 million studios working on them, and there's tons and tons of people, because they have to get them done so fast. And they were saying that the way it's done is there's an absolute design document that's like hundreds of pages long and in totally granular detail, and the people just make what's in it, and there's very little room for movement. Wow. And whereas a lot of game development projects tend to have a lot of sort of going back and undoing or adding things and whatever as ideas progress through development, it sounds like maybe Assassin's Creed isn't like that because of the sheer scale of it, that it can't afford to be. So maybe the things that were suggested for Revelations weren't to everyone's liking, but just kind of had to get done because they were what was on the slate that year.
Interestingly, I asked, Red Links have just been acquired by Ubisoft, and I just asked in absolute jest what they're going to be doing for Assassin's Creed 3, and they kind of went quiet and looked at me like... So I can confirm that you will be able to backflip and bears and stuff in Assassin's Creed 3.
Wow.
If Assassin's Creed 3 starts with you on a 2D plane on a little motorbike, like riding...
It wouldn't be a motorbike, you'll be riding a wolf through George Washington's house.
Brilliant.
Apparently there will be more puzzles of the kind of the first-person stuff that Desmond's
Well,
story was shunted to
I'm
Revelations.
kind of with John Tatey on this. John Tatey reviewed Revelations for us, and in his review, he suggested that his ideal role for Desmond Miles in the Assassin's Creed series is to sort of turn up at the beginning of the game and go, "Hi everyone, I'm Desmond. I'm about to step into my crazy time machine. See you later," and then just go away for like 15 hours before popping up and going, "Thanks for playing."
Yeah, it's kind of good they're wrapping his story up in 3. It's the last game to feature Desmond because
Maybe you can assassinate him at the end of it.
it's as fun.
Imagine if you were in the Animus and you had to assassinate. How would it work?
I
If
don't
George
know.
Washington assassinated him, no, I don't know.
The problem is that even though he's been the main guy, the main thread of narrative through all of the games so far, he spent so little time with him that it's very hard to get attached.
He's an awful character.
Yeah, he's
as
really
well.
boring and
It's just-
unsympathetic.
Yeah.
Does he have any? Because he's a very boring man, and I imagine he must have some boring descendants. Do you not just jump into? Well, you always jump into these exciting assassins.
Yeah.
He must be like he must have like an office worker that he gets this
Yeah.
slightly boring part of his.
He's just like
personality.
he's like the really shit nephew, isn't he? Right? Hey, like, he's in a family of legendary historical figures, sports people and all the rest of it. And he's the guy who sort of worked in a bar.
He did work in a bar.
He did work in a bar, I know, because we had to sit through that interminable level where he explained everything while you were jumping around on top of blocks in first person.
Yeah, you had to go rave in a club, but in a Tetris environment.
Yeah.
But I don't need to play this game, do I? I haven't played
Revelations. It's actually I played through it in a weekend and I liked it, but it was an unnecessary. It was like, by the standards that had been set, it was disappointing, and it's easy to take the piss out of it because of the things it does. I think the Assassin's Creed series in general is quite easy to take the piss out of. It's just that because it's so much fun, you tend to be on its side most of the time. But when that sort of slips away,
They make some crazy decisions. As a side note, the last piece of DLC for Revelations just came out called The Lost Archive, which was Subject 16 backstory, framed around a new set of those first-person puzzles. And they include a huge bit of story, which kind of wraps up Lucy. I'm not... Is it okay to say what happened at the end
No,
of...
I don't want to know.
No. I mean, is it okay to say on the podcast what happened at the end of Brotherhood? Because that was like 2 years ago.
Well, let's set it up. So, like, for the next 20 seconds, you're going to talk about
turn
this.
away now.
So, if you haven't finished Brotherhood,
Which you really should have by
put your
now.
fingers in your ears and don't look at Tom's mouth.
Okay, so Desmond
Go.
was forced to stab Lucy by one of the powers, one of the people that came before. And it was kind of a whoa, shock ending. And then they never really explained it in Revelations. In the beginning, she's just dead. And that's it, she's buried. Which I kind of thought is because they couldn't get Kirsten
Bell, yeah.
back again.
One of
She
those
probably got
boring
too
people as
big
well.
and wanted loads of money off Ubisoft. And they explain, like, they kind of say, like, some details about that, which really put her story to bed. So we're never going to get more about her. And they put it in this DLC right at the end.
Okay,
All this first-person puzzle stuff.
cool. We are now talking about this again. That's it. That's over. No more
Okay.
spoiler. Okay, cool. Just doing that for the viewers.
But if you want the
in case they
story,
were
it's
wondering.
on the Assassin's Creed wiki.
I should have had some sort of signal where, like, I've held my hand up whenever we're doing a spoiler.
Yeah.
That'd be. Let's not do that. Well, Assassin's Creed 3 coming out in October. When is it? 19th, 20th,
31st.
31st, yeah.
So I was close. I got the month
it's
right.
Tuesday or a Wednesday? It's not
Oh, who
Friday.
cares? Anyway, it's coming out in October. Do we expect it really to be? I mean, did they ever really build it as a trilogy? Was it always? Is it just going to wrap things up?
At some point, someone said that it was a trilogy.
I think it's mapped out that way, and then just 2 was
Right.
more successful than they thought, and they kind of
Yeah,
stumbled
let's
from this.
make more Ezio.
But
it's a
as we're about to discover when we move on to our next game, a trilogy these days doesn't really mean anything because you can always just do another trilogy within the same universe. Trilogy sort of implies that there's an ending, but aren't we just going to see Assassin's Creed 3 Brotherhood or Assassin's Creed 3
No, because they
Revelations?
said when I spoke to them in... Where was that? Where's the last game set?
You went to
Venice?
Constantinople.
Yes, I did.
You went to Constantinople?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it's not Constantinople anymore, but...
No, that's what it's
Istanbul.
called in the game.
Yeah. And they said that they're going to stop doing that yearly cycle. After 3, there will be more Assassin's Creed games because there's lots more stories to tell in the Assassin's Creed universe, and Desmond is just one story.
Good.
But they won't be they won't be regurgitating them and spinning them out like this.
It's a natural breaking off point. If the next one is going to be the end of Desmond's story, then they could conceivably leave it more than a year to pick it up again
Why
in a
can't
new
we play-
setting.
Maybe in the next ones we can play as the Templars. The Assassins are a bit goody-goody for my liking. I mean, I know they kill people and that, but
Well,
they
I don't know. They're not all great.
Well,
Don't know.
okay, all right, fine. The Templars are brilliant though, because they're just Bond villains basically.
Thing is, they think that what they're doing is right. They genuinely believe that, which
I know,
is
that's what
something
makes
that
them great.
3 is going to explore and why
Like
it's not all
Goldfinger.
black and white. Yeah.
Anyway, cool. Well, that's enough of Assassin's Creed. I think there isn't really much else to say. It's coming out in October, and we're very excited about it, and the potential to further amuse ourselves by ripping into Desmond Miles and other aspects of the series for the next
And furry
7 or 8
animals.
months. Furry animals, yeah.
Let's rip into furry animals.
Ripping into them and wearing them as hats.
Exactly.
Cool. So another game. Speaking of hats, Halo 4. Now this is a segue that I'm going to now try to explain because the Master Chief, you see, he wears a hat.
I should have given you. There's a much better segue than that, which I should have fed you beforehand. The
What if we were preparing or something?
executive producer of Halo 4 is called Kiki Wolfkill, which I can only imagine is a Native American name.
Brilliant.
That's an
pretty
amazing
awesome.
name.
Yeah, it's an incredible name. In fact, that's the most concrete fact I can give you about Halo 4, having gone to go and see it.
Wow. Well, this is true. So you went to go and see it. Another game, another classic video games industry thing. It is the first game in the second trilogy.
Although in total Halo games, it's like the
700.
Yeah.
Well, Assassin's Creed still takes the biscuit with this one, given that we just finished playing the third game in the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy. But anyway, so you went to see Halo 4. What did you see?
I saw pretty much what everyone else saw on Monday, which was a multiplayer reveal and a video of people at 343 telling you how good this game is going to be without showing you much of the game.
So what did they actually show? Just to
Beyond
recount.
that, we did get to see a aerial walkthrough of the 2 maps which they revealed in the video.
Do they have good names?
Warhouse, which is a bit like warehouse, but it's where you store your war.
Is it really called Warhouse?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Can you be a fighter in the Warhouse, like a war fighter?
What's the other one called? Fight Bus.
If only the other one's called. The other one's not quite
Punch
as funny.
Bungalow.
It's just called Wrap Around because it wraps around a bit.
That's not as good, is
Around.
it? Anyway.
No. So we saw that, and then we saw some little, literally like 2-second flashes of Red Spartan shooting a Blue Spartan.
Why is it that the Reds always fight the Blues? What do they have against each other, Martin?
Interesting you say that. Maybe we're going to find that out for this Halo. They said they're going to contextualise the Red versus Blue fight.
That's really what I've been looking forward to.
It's really kind of done though, because Red versus Blue is obviously a massively popular series, which kind of played on that whole thing and played on it really well. And they're going to make it more po-faced.
I always kind of liked about Halo. This is really boring information, but the fact that from the very first game, you were a very silly-looking green man who was basically indestructible and could hop around like a giant rabbit, fighting little blue goblins.
Yeah, and that's something which has always been the appeal. That was when
yeah.
Bungie did Halo. Bungie's Halo was a really, really comic game, first of all, and it was really funny. It had that kind of airbrush 60s sci-fi thing to it, but also tied with like a Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing. And I liked that, and that's why I enjoyed Halo. And then as more games came out, and I think as Microsoft got their fingers on it, they got their fingers into it a bit more, it became more po-faced, and it was always a really weird tonal imbalance. Like when you got to Halo Reach, it's trying to tell you this really serious story, and you're still chasing a little 2-foot man around.
Yeah, you see, because that was always what was great about the first ones. There was a seriousness to it, but it was, as you say, like a 70s TV sci-fi seriousness. Yes, everything's very, very bad, and we're fighting these little goblin guys who are covered in fur, and they're so cute.
Yeah,
and that was kind of what it was like.
And so one thing in Halo 4's defence is that it has more tonal consistency from what I've seen of it and from what they're saying about in Halo Reach, because it is a very serious Halo, and now all that comic stuff has been removed, and it is going to be really po-faced.
Is it?
And more grave and darker and more sombre than...
Well, how can it be more dark? Because Reach was basically about escaping the Holocaust, effectively.
There can be none more dark than that, can there? But I think this will be more dark. They won't tell you what the story is, but basically your Master Chief, you stumble across a Forerunner or precursor installation.
The
and
precursor is the one from Jack and Daxter.
Yeah,
So this is a crossover with Jack and Daxter.
it is. That's what they're terrified to
Does
reveal.
Master Chief fall in some goop and turn into a little?
It's a
puppet?
PlayStation 3 exclusive. It's the one thing they didn't. The one thing they're terrified of revealing.
Okay, so they've hinted at the Forerunner. I'm actually falling asleep as I say this. They've
Yeah,
hinted at the
but
Forerunners.
it might be precursors who come before the Forerunners, and by this point, no one apart from
Sorry, hang on. I don't really know the Halo fiction very well. You've actually written a book about it, which I'm surprised you survived. But so there's the Forerunners.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there were the precursors.
The precursors are something I've been. I shouldn't get into this because it just reveals what an idiot I am.
Is there something before them?
Probably, I don't know.
Precursor?
Yeah. You fight the primordial suit basically. You just fight some sludge that hasn't
Brilliant.
evolved yet. They're going all the way back.
Fucking hell. Okay, brilliant.
But it looks beautiful, and the art direction of it is, as you'd expect from a Halo game, absolutely fantastic. And so I'm more before I went to go and see it, having spoken to 343 about Halo, I was really concerned that their understanding of the Halo universe was completely askew with my understanding of it, which I think kind of chimes with most people's, in that it's a really fun space shooter and everything. But I think they get the core of it, and they're not going to dick around with the core part of the game, but they are going to make it a bit more serious. But I don't mind so much having seen it because it just looks so phenomenal, and they've nailed the sense of wonder and spectacle that was been kind of lost since Halo 3 had it, and that's back. Having seen what they've done with the Forerunner architecture, they get it.
Okay, that's good because as you say, 2 and 4, 2 and Reach, whilst really good games, I know DSC. The spectacle thing, the thing about first arriving on Halo in the first game.
Well, because you kind of miss that because they were both really terrestrial games by their nature. One of them obviously set on Earth, the
yeah.
other one set on a human planet. But this one, because it's going to be set in Forerunner architecture and new Forerunner installations, it's going to have that wow factor again.
Great.
Whether we're seeing another Halo ring or something equally incredible, I imagine we will.
What about the Flood? Are they coming back?
I did ask actually because I said it would be hilarious if you've been secretive about the enemy for so long, and then at the end of it goes, "Hey guys, it's the Flood." But they said categorically the one thing they will say is that it won't be the Flood.
The Flood's basically the Jar Jar Binks of the Halo world, really, aren't they? But except there's loads of them,
Yeah.
and they're not actually funny.
I don't mind the Flood. Well, I didn't mind them because when you first faced the Flood in the first Halo game, it was kind of like popping those little plastic things.
Yeah.
They just kind of.
They all look a bit like the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it won't be them.
Towards you. Okay.
It's the other big news, the other big takeaway from it as well was the takeaway I got at the end of it was lovely. And also they are going to introduce a upgrade system to the multiplayer, which has gameplay effects.
This
which
is quite an interesting development, isn't it?
Huge shift
Yeah.
in the philosophy of Halo, because it's always been a skill-based game. And it has never had that kind of perk system in it because it's been such a pure and such a balanced multiplayer experience that it just couldn't. It didn't need it for a start.
Did you talk to them at all about, because there's this sort of proliferation at the moment, particularly amongst games by people like EA of paid for unlockables and things like that. Like SSX is rife with them. It's like, earn your way to this different coloured snowboard or give us some money and then you can have it now.
Mass Effect 3 started to do that now as well.
Oh, really?
Multiplayer, yeah.
Well, as previously discussed on the podcast, you have to spend about £4,000 to get all of the DLC for Mass Effect 3. So.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I saw that story. That's
but
incredible.
so are they? I'm quite interested in the idea of unlockables and so on and leveling. It works very well in Battlefield. It works very well in Modern Warfare. I'm sure they can come up with a nice alternative. I think what we would all like to avoid is a situation where they just try and flog you stuff as part of it.
They obviously wouldn't go into that. I mean, upgrades have always existed. Well, have they existed in Halo Reach anyway? But it's just purely aesthetic. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle it when it's actually got gameplay implications. A lot of people are upset, and a lot of people will be very upset by it because it completely shifts what it is.
I noticed something actually yesterday, which was when we ran the preview and so on, was it didn't sort of. I mean, admittedly, they've been relatively coy, and there isn't a great deal of information out there. But it isn't like the phenomenon that was Halo. Like back in the day, when Halo 2 came out, it was like the biggest event in the history of consoles. When Halo 3 came out, it was another one of those things where they released a press release saying that it's the biggest entertainment launch ever, and everyone wants to talk about it constantly. I don't get that vibe from it anymore.
I think a lot of that is down to like end of generation apathy. It's the same apathy I've got towards Assassin's Creed 3. It's like these things are known quantities, and now we've seen Halo 4. At least even if you see a screenshot, you just look at it and go, "That's going to be another Halo game which I've played 3 times already
Yeah.
on this generation of consoles, it's going to look slightly prettier, and it will do a few things that annoy me, it'll do a few things that excite me.
Isn't this
and
kind
you
of
just know that.
Isn't this sort of a normalisation then in that sense? Because we aren't. I mean, we'll get a generational leap, but it's not really as though it's hard to imagine that a next generation Halo is going to look as different to this generation's Halo as this one looks to the previous ones, or that PS3 stuff in general looks to PS2.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit of a shame if we can't ever hit those kind of giddy heights again in terms of hype and excitement for everyone, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of visual progression is going to slow down, but it comes in other ways, and God knows what they're going to do, which could make us more excited about the whatever Halo 5 is going to be when it lands on next Xbox.
Yeah.
But I'm sure its innovations probably won't be graphically.
Connect!
Well, that's because this, of course, Halo 4 will have Kinect in some way, but they didn't talk about it or wouldn't talk about it at all.
It's going to be...
But it'll be more integral than it was in Halo Anniversary, because that was kind of patched in after to an existing
What did
game.
Anniversary have?
Oh, you shouted grenade. That was it. And there was something else as well, something equally mind-numbing.
Could you... I don't know. No, I've got nothing. I can't... There's literally nothing interesting about the idea of connecting Halo to me. I can't... It doesn't spark anything in my head.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
It must all be optional anyway. There's no way they'd put stuff in there that was out of reach for...
That'd be amazing,
for
though.
core.
Imagine if you fired up Halo and they said, and the calibration thing, the bit where the Master Chief's like stuck in a tube and the guy goes, "Okay, sir, look up and look down," blah blah. If it said, right, wave your arms in front of the TV, right, flap your leg around, to run. Okay, cool. Do a little chicken dance to shoot.
And now I'll upload this to your Facebook page. Yeah. Thank you very much. That has been Halo 4.
Well, anyway, so what do we know about the campaign apart from that? It definitely starts
nothing. They
Chief.
said nothing. But judging from,
does Master Chief have a new sidekick?
He's still Cortana. I think basically what's going to happen at the end of because if you look at his suit, if you've been really sad and really stare at the screenshots, he's got really long feminine fingers. So I think it's going to be revealed in this one that Master Chief actually is Cortana.
That would be some twist.
Yeah.
What they could do is they could unmask him at the end, and it's actually Samus from the Metroid series.
It could have its Samus moment.
It's got the same shoulder pads actually.
Yeah.
Who could it be though under that helmet?
Samus.
You reckon it's Samus?
Yeah.
I reckon it's Bill Gates.
I was going to say it's Peter Moore, but obviously that's
an old school.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's been modified since the first Halo.
Maybe in a sort of weird inverse meta Xbox joke, he's got Peter Moore tattooed on his face.
Oh, now I'm really excited for Halo 4.
Just get Kudo.
And
then under Kudo's sunglasses is someone else.
It's like a sort of Matryoshka doll version of Kudo.
Yeah.
But his sunglasses, he's got multiple sunglasses. Pass the parcel. Important question, I suppose. How many more previews do you think we were invited to write of Halo 4 before they actually...
I don't think it's going to be... It's not going to be... Actually, I was going to badmouth the big video game publishing, which I won't do. But it's not going to be like some other games where you get about 15 previews beforehand. Next time we see it properly is going to be E3.
So you're talking about, what, EA, Ubisoft, something like that?
No, none of the above.
Activision?
I'm not saying anything. They haven't... Yeah.
He's right, actually. Let's go with this guy's view on this. It's fine. None of them ever listen.
We'll see it. Do you want to know that I reckon a PR cycle is you'll see it at E3 and then you'll see it again in August and then you'll see the game.
What do you think the catchy slogan will be? Because we've had Finish the Fight and we've had Remember Reach.
It's something about John.
It's something about John.
Make me John. I saw a glimpse of it though, and I wasn't supposed to see it. They had like the slogan there, and it was something to do with John because you're John 117. It's like it said make something John. And I'm not sure who you make John. Make you John? Who's John? How do I make a John?
Who is John Gold?
Make a John.
Dear John, dear John. Very good interruption from James there. Cool. Well, we've covered.
Are you excited? For it? You're a Halo fan. You've played them.
I like some Halo games. I had one of my favourite gaming experiences was playing through Halo 3 co-op campaign with Martin Taylor from our excellent design team.
I know that guy.
And basically getting the hammer and like bouncing each other around the inside of the flood ship thing or whatever was going on. I didn't really understand the story. It was sort of weird, kind of psychedelic Barney the Dinosaur meets sort of the Thin Red Line kind of thing. There was a lot going on, but it was good. So I like that one. I liked ODST. ODST was a weirdly divisive game. Sorry, I was just realising that you basically just asked me whether I liked Halo, and I'm now going through the entire.
I did. I should have narrowed my question down. That's a typical,
yes or no?
typical journalist
yes,
mistake.
yes,
yeah.
I do. Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay.
So I am quite excited, but at the same time, it's got a 4 on the end, and I know it's actually the 8th game, so there's a degree of
But in some ways, it's
apathy.
the first.
Yeah, but in a lot of ways, it's the beginning of the wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really
They
like.
are very talented. I was worried as well because they're a Microsoft first-party studio and they don't have that kind of spirit of independence that Bungie had. But they're a really talented bunch. It's going to be an amazing space opera with AAA values and amazing production values. So I'm excited for it in that regard. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a quality product. Just how it ties in with.
There's a lot of
various
buzzwords in there. Quality products, AAA values.
I totally been drinking the Kool-Aid. That's
Great
what happened
team.
at San Francisco.
Yeah.
I just realised. It's when I came back and told everyone how good Connect Star was as well.
Space opera.
Yeah.
You did say space opera. Also, you referred earlier to your takeaways from the event, which obviously is a no-no.
Oh my god, this is what happens when you speak
This
at
is
spend a
great.
week in the company of Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, at least you haven't got a Windows 7 phone. Although they're actually quite good, aren't they? They're quite good, etc. Blah blah blah. Shall we move on from Halo 4 then? Let's talk about a game we've actually played.
Yep.
Incredibly, I put this at the end of the podcast because I imagine it's a game that no one actually bought. So
They couldn't.
So our audience.
I couldn't. I went to HMV on Saturday.
I
I had a friend
used.
who was trying to support the high street. He went around HMV, obviously Game Station weren't selling
That's
it.
'cause
But
I've been making a point recently about with a different topic we shouldn't go on to, but I've been making a point of trying
Well, we
to
can
buy
talk about it if we want.
trying to buy games from shops because I want to support the high street as well. But I couldn't do it for Resident Evil. I couldn't do it for Binary Domain. I couldn't do it for Final Fantasy 13-2. And this weekend I couldn't find a shop which sold SSX.
Well, as part of my campaign to actually have something to play, I bought it off Amazon because that way it would turn up when I asked for it. I got Kaori's Ultimate Board as pre-order DLC,
Wow.
which is great.
what does that get you?
Well, it's a snowboard that's a bit better than some of the other snowboards.
Is it the ultimate board?
It's certainly Kaori's Ultimate Board. Should we talk about SSX then? Have you played it, Tom Phipps?
I have not. No,
Cool,
I
do you
played
wanna-
the demo.
You played the demo.
That's good.
That's fine. That's good.
Yeah, it's good. I liked it a lot.
Martin.
I played it last night.
Okay.
For about a couple of hours, and I was really off put actually at first. I thought, could this be a 9 out of 10 game when I first played it? Because I was all over the shop in it, and it wasn't particularly welcoming to me. Yeah, it's quite an intimidating game, and much
It can
harder
be.
than I was expecting it to be.
Have you played SSX before?
No, that's the thing.
Okay.
I haven't played a snowboarding game since 1080, so I am very much new to the series. So
So what did you find? What did you find difficult? Was
There's
it
a lot of
just the trick system, or
just to even know where to go though, just because
Yeah.
it's amazing because when I have no prior knowledge of the series or and hadn't read even a review of it, I just literally got it out of a box, put it in my Xbox, and then just didn't know what to do. It just I was presented all these menus, all these different things to do, and I didn't know how to experience the game best, and so I spent about half an hour.
you're like a
45 minutes.
pensioner in a post office?
Basically,
What
yeah.
is going on? What are all
Or a
these
pensioner
counters?
on a ski slope.
Yeah, well, that's that.
Equally
Well,
baffled.
Less perilous though in terms of physical danger.
And then when I did get down to it, it was just an incredibly unforgiving game that kept on throwing me off the side of a mountain.
Yeah, no, it will do that. I've been a huge fan of the series since the PS2, so I come coming at it from the sort of complete opposite. Like people when people diss the PS2 launch lineup, I always go SSX is one of the finest games of that generation, and Tricky was great as well. But this new one's it's definitely got its claws into me. I spent most of the weekend playing it, and I've sort of caned the campaign now, and I've been playing online a bit. And compared to the old ones, it's sort of basically the same in a lot of ways. That they've evolved the trick system slightly in that you can now you do as you're jumping around, you do basic tricks and you string them together by not allowing too much time to elapse between jumps and grinds and all the rest of it, as you know, sort of fairly standard stuff since the days of Tony Hawk, really. And once you hit a certain threshold of trick pointage, you go into tricky mode where you start doing uber tricks, which are slightly more complicated versions. And then if you keep that going, you can go into whatever it's called, super tricky mode, and start doing I don't know what the
Super uber trick.
super uber tricks, and you get unlimited boost in that mode and so on. And the trick system, whereas on the PS2 you'd clamp your fingers all over the shoulder buttons and you'd try and go off at different angles with the analog stick. In this one, it's much simpler. You can actually just use the right analog stick and sort of push it in different combinations of directions and stuff. Rotate by using the left analog stick when you're in the air. Blah 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 blah. And I can get down pretty much every mountain in one continuous, really, really sick combination of tricks. Pretty much.
Did you just say sick?
I did say sick, yeah. Well, come on, Mr. Takeaway. I'm allowed that. Come on.
You've been playing too much EA Sports.
I've certainly listened to, by accident, quite a lot of dubstep and shall we say, techno, if you like, over the last few days.
Do you remember that old EA Sports radio that you used to have? That was fun.
Well, it's about DJ Atomica's in this.
DJ Atomica's in this, yeah.
So I spent the first hour basically really baffled by it, and then the next 2 hours flew by. I realised it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I had to get up in 4 hours' time. So so it's definitely got its claws into me, and I cannot wait to go back tonight and play it. It's once it kind of clicks, and then it does become about getting that perfect run. It is some kind of perfect. I did really enjoy it.
I found that said, as much as I like it, the mountain design, apart from the Kilimanjaro levels, which are arse, frankly, is really, really good. Like, a lot of them are really, really excellent. And there's some other good stuff. Like Ridernet is a bit like Autolog from the is it
Need
for Speed series, whereby you can do any run, you set a time, all your friends see it, they can challenge it, you get updated about what they're doing, etc., and it all feeds back into itself. So that's all cool, especially because originally it was really very much a high scores game, and you would be trying to set the perfect runs and beat your score totals and stuff. So in that respect, it's a good evolution. However, I do think there's another side to it, which is that, as you say, I mean, for one thing, it's quite unforgiving. Obviously, that doesn't really apply to me so much because of my natural skills. But
I did actually beat one of your times last night.
Yeah, but those were just kind of like, I imagined that when I was originally playing, I was just kind of like ramming the pad against my head as a test. But hey, the gauntlet has been laid. I mean, I will now have to go home and punish you.
Yep.
But the things that I don't have so much time for, I think, like the Ridernet stuff, while it's quite good, which is faint praise in itself, it could be kind of better at encouraging you to try new stuff and about like letting you know what other, like, you can sort of see what people are doing, but there's no real impetus to go and
that's the thing I felt
really
lost. It wasn't as pure as Autolog, because Autolog, you're kind of it guides you through the content and guides you. It's like a breadcrumb trail. You just always know where to go next. You've always got the
icons
goals
on the map are always highlighted, and
and the goal's always in sight. It's always an attainable target, so you always push you forward. Whereas this, I just felt lost.
The line between the sorry, I've got something in my iPhone connected. The line between the single player and Autolog stuff in Need for Speed was more blurred. You'd be doing a single player thing. You'd set a time, and you'd move somewhere else, but then you get a notification saying that someone had beaten the time you just done, and you'd go back. It was all kind of within one thing. SSX actually divides these things up. So the campaign mode, the Deadly Descents, is almost like a tutorial for the game, and you kind of go through all of the maps, learning the different special powers you can have for different mountains and the unlockables and blah blah blah. But it's got no connection at all to Ridernet. Like, Ridernet is an entirely separate thing. You go into the explore mode, and then you just start randomly doing whatever you want, and other people can set times, and then you can have a go at them. So it doesn't feel as organised in the way that Autolog did.
It did actually, again, because it made me think of Autolog, it made me think of Need for Speed. It did also make me go and pick up Hot Pursuit again off my shelf and play that again.
Such a good
game. And then get
game.
really excited about the potential of a new Hot Pursuit this year.
Yeah. Well, with SSX, the other thing is, as I was saying, they've got this. They've clearly decided that because everything's got experience systems and upgrades and so on, they should have one. Because it doesn't make a huge amount of difference to anything other than your ability to up your multiplier quickly and things like that. It feels, despite its sort of relevance to gameplay, quite superficial, the upgrade system. All the things in the shops are just boards with ever so slightly more trick potential or less speed or whatever. The costumes, sometimes some of them have perks like slightly more trick potential and so on, but it's all kind of vague and not really that exciting. And even as evidenced by the fact that, as I said, the pre-order thing I got was Kaori's ultimate board, and it doesn't really make that much difference to anything. It doesn't. You can't see the board half the time anyway. You're not exactly looking at your feet while you're snowboarding down a mountain. So the only time you can really see it is on that screen anyway. And I don't really care about a costume. I mean, I don't know quite how they could have done anything exciting with it, but I do know that it isn't very exciting. So that's a bit of a shame. Also, the campaign mode forces you to use all the different characters. So you kind of level them all up to about level 5 or 6 by the end of the game. rather than like concentrating on one character.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't. Again, and I've been playing it now for about 2-3 hours, and I'm still. I get the core of the game, but I'm still confused by a lot of the surrounding stuff because the way it's just forced me to choose characters, and then the various gear selection stuff is never never really explained properly, and also the fact I think because
also the interface is dire.
Yeah, it is awful UI interface in it even, and also like I think because I've got the EA Online passing or something, and I think it unlocked a board which is just better than anything in the game. And so for some reason,
possibly.
I've never been compelled to buy anything in the game, and so it just all seems completely superfluous. And then it pushes me there. It's like, but I don't need to be here.
The one place where it isn't superfluous, actually, there's slot 2, I suppose. There's the mountain specific things that sometimes you have to use, like the breathing apparatus and the wingsuit and stuff like that. They clearly, because the idea behind the game is that there are 9 deadly descents, these mountains you have to reclaim. Don't get me started on the story because it's like a combination. Like imagine Euro trash, but in a sort of po-faced way, and you've kind of got it with dubstep.
Why do they bother? Why is it necessary to have a story?
I don't know, but anyway.
Ask Need for Speed: The Run.
Don't ever mention Need for Speed: The Run in my presence again. The wingsuits and stuff. They're quite like the wingsuit's quite good. Again, faint praise. I can't remember any of the others, which sort of illustrates the point.
Ice picks.
Ice picks. Ice picks is just the ability to turn a bit on ice, which they could have just let you do anyway. The hot and cold. Actually, one of the only good ones, which because the idea of the deadly sense is it makes you play the game slightly differently. So there's a mountain that's in Antarctica, and you're supposed to stay in the sun as much as possible. Otherwise, you'll lose your body temperature and you'll die, which is makes you play it slightly differently. But then some of them are a bit crap, like there's loads of rocks or loads of trees, and you just think, oh god, this is just going to be really annoying.
Yeah, the trees one's the first one you do, I think, which is which I think that's why I got frustrated so much at the start because it's not the easiest one to start you on.
Yeah, they just kind of gimmicked up each mountain, which is a shame. But in multiplayer RideNet, you can get mods, which are like one-time perks that you can buy and then use. For setting a time or whatever, like give you a certain speed increase or whatever.
This is so confusing. There's so many different conflicting systems in this game.
The important
I do like it. I really want to make the point. I do like it, but that's when I was really getting into it. But I miss the simplicity of the basic look. Yes. That's what I like. Cop Pursuit. Like just basically, you've got this car, and here's a time, beat it, and that's it. It's that simple. There's nothing else on top of it, and there's so much going on in SSX. I'm just really confused.
I can certainly understand why that it has proven divisive. Amongst reviewers. However, I do think that the point Simon made in our review, he was very positive about it generally, is that if you sort of treat everything that's in front of you as stuff that you can just kind of go push it all off the table, the game underneath, the actual going down the mountain, jumping off a ramp and swirling through the air, waving your board around like you're doing breakdancing on it while Run DMC samples play over the top. And then it sort of all kind of comes back together in this amazing blur of colour and style and music and everything, and you keep the trick going the whole way down. It's incredibly satisfying, and it's the most it's a really, really great workout for your thumbs compared to so many games these days which don't allow you to express yourself or do anything particularly different. It's an awesome experience when you actually learn how to do it and you start going down the mountains properly. And some of the mountains are really good as well.
I'm looking forward to getting stuck back in tonight, and that's saying a lot because I've got a copy of Mass Effect 3 which I'm going to hold off for another couple of days.
Yeah.
Until,
oh man, EA sent us some copies of Mass Effect 3 yesterday, and I was just like, I must play it on my PC. I bought the PC because I wanted to play games like this in proper resolutions, and then all these console copies turn up, and I'm like,
where's your Mass Effect 2 save coming from? Is that a 360 or a PS3?
Well, I'm not. I played it on the 360, but I frankly found the ending of Mass Effect 2 where with the sort of the enforced deaths of people unless you
the suicide mission, yeah,
so annoying. I've been over this a couple of times, but I might just get download a save off somebody on the internet and use it with the PC copy. Frankly, I didn't really modify the appearance of my Shepherd, so it shouldn't bother me too much. If I can just choose to keep the people who I kept, then I can just do that. Really,
you wouldn't want to keep everybody instead.
I don't know. Really probably.
Annoying. Some of them can just die.
Also,
Leslie Grantham was quite annoying.
Leslie Grantham, the guy who exposed himself on the internet.
What? Hello, what?
Oh, the EastEnders chap. Yeah. The guy who looks like Leslie Grantham is.
Looks like. Cool.
Yeah.
Good one for the lawyers there.
Zaid, who didn't expose
Who's
himself
in the
on the
DLC.
internet, as far as I know. Yeah,
Okay.
he came with the Mass Effect 2's.
It was the free launch DLC,
Okay.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
The online pass thing, basically.
The offline online pass.
What do they call it? The Cerberus network.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, you can buy him for 1,200 points.
Brilliant.
I didn't. Yeah, I reviewed it on debug and didn't have access to that. So.
You missed nothing.
Yep.
Playing the world's smallest space violin. Anyway,
We'll talk about that next week, Mass Effect 3.
we will,
Yes.
because we'll all have played it by then. We thought
I've
it would
got
be
a sodding anniversary this weekend. I'm going away. That's annoying.
cool. I'm breaking out the space violin again. Anyway, we will, because we thought we could have done it this week, but it would be better for people to have actually played it by the time
So
we,
they can actually listen to it.
the readers and indeed us. Cool. Well, SSX is out now, and we rather like it. Although the discussion you have just heard probably suggests that we think EA should have done things slightly differently in some respects.
It is a good game though, so I'm looking forward to playing much more of it. Just so you have to just ignore some nonsense about it.
Yeah, I do like the fact that you start the game every level in a helicopter and jump out of it and go down the mountain.
Helicopters are always good, always welcome.
Yeah. And you have a crazy Russian helicopter pilot or an Australian helicopter pilot talking to you over the top as you race down the mountain, going, "Oh no, I'm not going to do it.
I was about to say, I hate Australians.
I'm not going to do it."
Let's end the podcast on a note of racism.
It's not
Let's
it.
be like that.
No. Anyway, cool comedy regional accents from your helicopter pilots. Should have put that on the back of the box. And yeah, it's jolly good. So get stuck in, and you won't be able to beat any of my times because I'm all conquering.
Yeah, whatevs.
Right. So we've had takeaway and whatevs. I think that beats my inadvertent use of sick earlier.
Got to end it now before I dig myself any deeper.
I will do just that. So that was Eurogamer.net podcast 103. I'm Tom. This is also Tom, and this is Martin.
Sorry.
Thanks for listening.
Okay. Bye.